On December 27, 1892, Livingstone and Biddle College, now known as Johnson C. Smith University, played in Salisbury, North Carolina, with Biddle winning 5-0. Over time, HBCU football has evolved. HBCU football's popularity continues to rise. Millions attend games each year and millions more watch on television. The HBCU bands provide some of the top entertainment in the country. Over that time, some of the best players to ever play in the National Football League played at HBCUs. Every Monday through Friday on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast, national radio and television host Donal Ware takes a look at what's happening in HBCU football and talks with coaches, players, administrators, and media about the season. Make sure you join the conversation on social media. Now, here's your host, Donal Ware.
You got it locked to the HBCU Football Daily Podcast for today, Thursday, September 14th. I'm Donal Ware. The HBCU Football Daily Podcast continues. We got a special guest. As a matter of fact, joining us, he's in his second season as the head football coach of the Virginia State Trojans, 2-0 on the season, and going to be on the road on Saturday in Raleigh at St. Augustine's. Dr. Henry Frazier joining us here on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. Coach or Doc, what's happening?
Hey, nothing, man. It's been a while since we sit there and talk some football, but everything is well, man. We just trying to get ready for this business trip.
No doubt, man. It has been a while. How important? I think that's interesting because also Coach Parker, Dr. Parker. It is interesting that you got two doctors that are head coaches that are rivals, right? But speak to how important it was for you to obtain your doctorate.
I started it. My first PhD class was back in 2009 when I was at Prairie View. I got my PhD from Prairie View. And, that was the year we won the championship. Matter of fact, I was taking 3 PhD classes that fall during the championship run. So I decided to do it. It wasn't for me. It was more so for my children, a legacy that I could leave behind because I didn't need it for the profession that I was in as a college football coach. I didn't need to have a PhD, but I wanted to do something different for my children, my biological children, as well as the young men that I lead. So that was my pursuit, and I'm just one of those people that are always trying to do something. When I get mundane and I'm just kind of doing the same thing for a few years, I was like, all right, let me shake it up and let me try to do something different or do something else.
But how does that work? Like to your point, you're a football at the time, a head football coach. Like how are you able to do all that?
Yeah, it was crazy. And I look back at it because it was like, wow, I literally in 2009, fall of 2009, I took 3 classes. I think I got 2 B's and 1 A. I took 3 PhD level classes and I had to go to the classes. It wasn't, this is coach. But I am very focused. I'm at my best during the season. Like, it is unbelievable discipline during the season. I get in trouble off the season. When that recruiting start, I might gain a few pounds and the holidays and I lose weight during the season. Everything is so routine and structured for me that I'm able to and being a head coach, I'm kind of in control of my schedule, so to speak. So I can do a lot more. And it seems like I shouldn't be able to, but I'm just so locked in and so focused in season. Out of season, I'm not going to study. I'm going to go chase the white ball at the golf course or I might, do something. Let's go catch a movie or something when I should be reading some chapters. So, yeah, it was, I was a little younger then. So, but now, I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, and you've got it, obviously you've had and have a good staff that helps you out with that as well. Oh,
I have an excellent staff, man. Right now, I got a lot of good young coaches that was vying to get into college coaching, and I'm excited. And I talk to them all the time about, how can I help you become a better coach? The same thing I tell the players: how can I help you become the best version of yourself? I do the same with the coaches. I got about 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6 coaches this first time managing their own room, and it's pretty cool, to be able to to have an influence over those guys. And they totally committed to being a really good college football coach. And so it makes it a lot easier. You know, sometimes you get the seasoned vets, they kind of, this is how I want to do it, this is how I've been doing it. You know, then you get the young guys who wide open eyes, and they're like sponges. You can kind of help them with their philosophy in the same sense, reinforcing yours.
Yeah. How much fun are you having? Like you've won where you've been, you've won on all levels. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, you've done the NFL coaching fellows and all those kind of good things. How much? I mean, and you're 2-0. I mean, everybody could see that you were coming last year with the 6-4 record coming in as a first year coach. How much fun are you having?
Man, it's the most fun I've had, you know, because I'm in the fourth quarter, Don. I'm in the fourth quarter of my coaching career, you know, and I am at the point where, like I tell the players, I ain't gonna change. You know, this is what I do. This is how I do it. But have a captive audience. My team, they're my boys. They're my guys, and they hang on every word. So I have to be very careful. But it's just routine for me. It's like riding a bike. And I am having an awesome time because I got young coaches that's sponges. I got players that's looking up to me and want to follow my lead. And I get an opportunity to kind of right a wrong. You know what I mean? My last time as a head coach, it didn't end the way no one would want it to end. And I kind of did some other things and kept myself busy and semi-relevant. And now I get a chance to be. I was born to be a head coach, man. This is what I love to do. I've done some AD stuff and some stuff with Loxley and Maryland. Well, being a head coach is what I was born to do, and I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah, that's right. You did do some stuff with Loxley in Maryland. I cannot believe I'm saying this. Maryland football is relevant. We're from the area. Maryland football is actually relevant, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. Coach Loxley is doing an awesome job. We've known each other years, 20, 30 years. They're over 30 years, maybe. Yeah, over 30 years. Close to 40, maybe. But we talked about it a lot. We talked about his dream and his vision for University of Maryland, and even when he got the job, he was like, "All right, I'm gonna bring you on. In what capacity? I'm not sure of right now." And we kind of sat down and came out with the position together. So I was director of leadership and character development because he knew, things that I went through in the past. It wasn't indicative of who I am as a person, and sometimes things happen, But he wanted, he knew I could firsthand be able to relate to the young men and be able to tell my story and create content to help them be, the best version of themselves. And that's what I did when I was there. But I just always be at the practice like, hey, why ain't, I do this, just kind of like looking and itching. But I was smart enough to stay out of the coach's way. But I would always just kind of gravitate to, on the sideline during the game. I get to yelling at some players. It was just in me. Right. And then when the opportunity presented itself, I say, you know what, man, I'm going back and coach.
Let me ask you, because you've never been afraid to really kind of talk about some of the things that you've gone through throughout your coaching career. With that said, any regrets?
No regrets. I mean, I'm a firm believer that everything happens the way they're supposed to happen. It's all about how you respond to it. Did I learn? I learned a lot of lessons, in my life that I can definitely help other young people with, as they go and try to navigate this thing that's called life. But no regrets on my part. I'm one of those guys. I do it my way. I pray before I do some things, and then oftentimes when I don't pray before I do things, I get kind of blow up in your face. So I kind of learned that lesson when I make major decisions or something, get ready to happen. Don't try to be a knee-jerk reactor to things. Just kind of pause, pray, then play. That's my 3 Ps that I learned from all the stuff that I went. I pause, pray, and then I play. So that is no regrets though, because things I went through. And the things that were done to me, the things that were, whatever it was part of God's plan for my life. And I'm still standing, still standing tall. I look at my children, they're all grown and, graduated from college and I remarried. I have a beautiful wife, man, and her sons are like they're my boys now, and I'm extreme. I am the happiest I've ever been in my entire life, and so I don't think I'm here without what I went through. So, I just thank God that I made it through. Because some people don't make it through, Don. Some people crumble pressures, and I wasn't one of those that crumbled. I just always kept pressing forward because I always knew what I went through was not my end. I know I've helped and tried to help so many people along my journey that I know God ain't bring me this far just to say, oh, this is how your story ends, Henry. Nah, I never thought that for 1 minute, 1 second. So I just had to continue to keep going because I knew eventually things would turn around in my favor. I ain't get weary, ain't get faint, in good doing. So that's my story, man. And I'll have some book that's gonna come out to kind of chronicle a lot of the things that I went through, but no regrets, bro. None at all, man. Because I know I wouldn't be the man I am today. And when I stand in front of them young men and talk about adversity and talk about, I lived it, and they going, yeah, coach, we Googled you,
Right. No, very well said. And I think, so also you mentioned Maryland previous to Virginia State, but Bowie State, can you speak to that experience on Damon Wilson's staff and what he's doing now? And I mean,
oh my God, man, yeah. He's like my blood brother. I hired Damon. I interviewed him for 3 minutes and 30 seconds on the track at Bowie State in 1999. He had finished playing. About 3 minutes, all right, you hired, you the running backs coach. You the special teams coordinator. And he's one of my dearest friends in the world. I've sponsored him into Omega Psi Phi. And I sponsored him and Michael Loxley and Tyron, my former brother-in-law. Them the only 3 people I sponsored in my whole life. And I've been in the frat 37 years. But that's how close Damon is to me. And one of the things when I say so proud, because he hired me, and that's the crazy thing. He hired me back in college athletics. And I was on his staff. And I tease him all the time. I say, man, you've been knocking at the door, but you ain't win a championship till you hired me back over there, man. And I ain't had nothing to do with it. Them boys was rolling over there. Them boys was some good coaches, man. But I always tease them about that. I say, you ain't win a championship till you hired me back. And it was just a beautiful thing. And he was honored and happy to be able to have done that. He was like, Frazier, you hired me on 2 different staffs. And, he was with me at Prairie View for a year. And, it's a weird thing because his dad just passed away. And I drove up for the funeral on Monday. And his mom looked at me because I always tease his mom. I always call her Patty LaBelle. And she looked just like Patty LaBelle. And I said, hey, Patty, how you doing? She said, she just looked up at me. She said, she's telling me, take care of my baby. Talking about Damon, because his dad just passed. I'm like, your baby done took care of me. We take care of each other. We're brothers. And like my family dynamics growing up, my dad died on the last day of school, 2nd grade. And my mom had all of 3 of us before she was 18. And I shared that story to say, I never went to a family reunion. I never had family reunion. I know my family, but we wasn't that kind of family. But Damon's family is. So I would always go to their events, go to their functions. And I would be in awe of the closeness of his family. And so when you bring up Damon and what he's doing, you talking about, I'm one of the biggest cheerleaders. And all them guys on the staff, Reddicks, Sue played 4 years before me and he worked for me at Prairie View. He's a defensive coordinator. Those are like, we all family, and look at Kyle at Bowie. We're all from the tree that started back in 86, my freshman year at Bowie. And since 1986, that lineage have been at Bowie State almost 40 years, someone associated with that lineage.
Wow. Very well said. That's the voice of Coach Dr. Henry Frazier of Virginia State. He joins us here on the program. That's great, man. It's always great to talk with you and really have conversation with you. But let's talk some Virginia State football because I
thought I could get away without us talking about it.
Well, look, but it's a great thing to talk about. You guys are 2-0 on the season. I mean, yeah, great win over Tuscaloosa. That's a SAC opponent. That's just a phenomenal victory. But I got to go back to the Norfolk State victory, man. What a crazy ending to that football game. Talk about that and the victory over the Spartans.
I've aged. The last two games have come to the very last play of the game. Tuscaloosa was another defensive stand. They had the ball on the 10-yard line, 4 seconds left, chance to win the game. Same with Norfolk. Defensive stand. Man, it gets a little tricky because it looked like I didn't know what the devil I was doing at the end of that game. And we knew they had 2 timeouts. So we like, okay, we can run this thing all the way down and end it. But we called our timeout right when the play clock hit 1. When we called the timeout and called the play, it was 4 seconds on the clock. 4 seconds. I know a football play lasts 5 seconds. So I tell the court, then my starting quarterback, he goes out with cramps again. So the backup in, I say, look, 4 seconds, run around the end zone. Clock hit double zeros, take a safety. Game over. By the time he gets on there to take the snap, it's 6 seconds on the clock. New rules, I can't call back-to-back timeouts. So now I'm yelling. First of all, ref, when did y'all put these 2 seconds back on the clock? And now I'm yelling, take the safety. And he runs around. The clock goes to double zero. He goes out of bounds. Then they put a second back on the clock. So now they get a chance to tie the ball game up. But then the ball snaps over the head. We scoop it up and go score a touchdown. And I was telling the players, I said the football guys knew we outplayed Norfolk on that day. You know, we almost had 500 yards of offense. You know, we ran for over 300 yards. We were the better team. And the football guys just weren't going to let us lose. But the officials were trying to make us lose. They called 3 fourth down penalties on us. Well, we stopped Norfolk on 4th down. And then they call a penalty on us to keep their drive alive. Not only when they scored their touchdown to go ahead, the play clock went to 0 for 3 seconds. You can see it on the TV version. I'm yelling at the ref, 3 seconds, 0. It should have been delayed game. They go score a touchdown on the play. So the refs was really aiding and abetting Norfolk.
Yeah, but you still got it. And then, the Tuscaloosa, that's right. The Tuscaloosa game, that's a really big win for your program too.
I thought so. We scheduled them with some national ramifications in mind when we put them on the schedule.
No doubt about it. Personnel, man. I'm looking Upton Bailey. You're running the football extremely well. I mean, this kid's got 245 yards. He's averaging 7.7 yards per carry. Talk about his play.
Yeah. He's one of the guys that we're gonna rely heavy on him and Chemo Clark, our 2 running backs. You know, last year we had a 1-2-3 punch with those 2 guys and Darius Higgins. Right now we had a 1-2 punch. We're looking for that 3rd guy to kind of help and spell those guys. You know, because I like having those 2 or 3 running backs because we return all 5 starters on the offensive line from last year. So. You know, then we also got us a transfer quarterback in, Romello Williams from Central Connecticut State, kid out of Miami, Florida. And he's in graduate school. He's actually really good football player. So we like where we are from an offensive standpoint.
Dr. Henry Frazier, the head football coach at Virginia State, joining us here on the program. Defensively, obviously defense is really stepped up. Tuscaloosa game, but how are you liking your defense?
I love them. I think we're gonna hang our head on our defense this year. I mean, the numbers look good, but they playing at a high level right now. They playing at a very high level, and and I think they're going to just get better. We're waiting on the NCAA to give our other starting cornerback the clearance, which we think is going to happen. But we had a couple guys, Arthur White and Dante Clark, stepped in for Quadrian Miles, but we think Quadrian should be cleared any minute now. And he is extraordinary. Opposite Willie Drew, who's All-American. So when we was able to add some pieces to the puzzle back in our secondary, couple transfers, and then the guys all returned. We returned 10 stars on offense, 9 on defense. So we had a situation where kids understand the system. System ain't changed. Philosophies haven't changed. What we do and how we do it hasn't changed. So the familiarity is at a high level. And we've increased our talent. When we brought in 36 freshmen and 15 transfers. So for us, we got, the core of our team is back, but we added what we think is some talented additions. So right now, only 2 freshmen of the 36 is going to use this right now, going to utilize this year. So we'll be able to redshirt 34 guys and be, because then the NCAA rules, you get to play 3 games as freshmen and keep your redshirt year. So we're trying to identify some home matchups that we can get those guys some playing experience. But right now, there's only 2 guys that we said we're going to take the red shirt off. I'm trying to redshirt the whole class, but because one of our guards, Breon Gaddy, hasn't got cleared by the NCAA, I had to bring in one of our big old freshman linemen, and he's not playing a lot, but he's the backup. So, but I can't risk him because he's probably our 7th or 8th best lineman. So he gonna have to play.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you mentioned redshirt because when you were, particularly when you were at Prairie View, and now that it comes back, right? Like that's what you did. You redshirted classes, and that's why you were so good. I mean, and to win a champion. By the way, to win a championship at PV at the time you won a championship that was unheard of. But how speak to that? You've kept that philosophy even on a different level.
Yeah, he had great memory. I mean, I did it in North Carolina Central.
Yeah.
I mean, we brought in like 35, 40 freshmen, redshirted them all. And I unfortunately I got fired. And I knew whoever had that team, I said, and then that's why my man Mac, I said, you owe me a drink. Because he showed won them 3 straight championships. And those boys still stay in touch with me to this day. They send me snap videos and they always calling me and talking to me. Because they still say those were my boys, man. But Coach Mack and his staff did a great job, of course. But that was the philosophy there, and we stockpiled that talent over there. And we were ready to roll. And unfortunately, personal stuff with me, got that staff out of there, man. One of my that's one of the regrets when you talk about coaches that followed me all over the country, from Maryland to Texas to North Carolina, and then for me to have something personal, get everybody fired. That's the one regret. So it was my life mission, and I like to think I had a hand in helping every one of them get another job. I was on a mission, calling everybody I knew, whether it was in athletics, out of athletics, and everybody did get a job. And I know I had a hand in probably 80% of them at least making a call or making a connection, with them getting a job, because I felt responsible for that, like talking to their wives. I remember apologizing to their wives, and your husbands trusted me, and because of some personal stuff with me, and then they out of a job, and they were like, it ain't your fault, Frazier, but it is, so, and I'm proud of all those guys that bounced back and doing, like Dwayne Foster. He's down in North Carolina, and Orange County is the AD, and Michael Brown, who's my offensive coordinator, he's the AD for the city of DC. And I remember when all of them got into that, the one Stephanie, who was running DC Athletic, her and I went to college together. So she helped and hired those guys. I remember my sister hired Roy, so I was like, nah, man, everybody get a job, because I was sorry that decisions I made kind of, mess things up for your family.
Yeah. Couple more thoughts. Now, as always, appreciate the candor. Your days in coaching as a head coach at Bowie State to what you've seen now. That Northern Division in the CIAA is crazy. It has been crazy for like 10 years. Everybody's battling. Your thoughts on maybe how it was then and, maybe how it's changed to now. It was 20 years ago, but how it is now.
It ain't changed much. I remember us beating Virginia State to make it to the championship game and knowing that, Union, Big Bad Union, what we used to call them, they still Big Bad Union. And, and Elizabeth City was pretty good back then. And they on the comeback now with their coach who was an alum. Yep. And I was trying to tell anybody that would listen, Bluefield, we played them last year. They was well coached. And I remember last year it was 14-7 and a half. They were well coached. They played hard. And I was like, damn, when they got to the conference, I said, damn, you going to put them in the North? And I was like, Lord. And then I'm telling you, looking at Lincoln, they got them a quarterback.
Yes. They
got them a quarterback, and they scoring some points. So it ain't this. It's tough. It's tough, and I'm looking at. Damn, is there a week off in the North? It's tough.
Yeah. No, you're right, Lincoln. I mean, when you saw the freshman quarterback Freeman, Isaiah Freeman. Yeah, you saw him last year. I'm like, oh, Lincoln's going to be a problem this year, and they won a game, and it's not going to be the same Lincoln. Maybe 0 wins, 1 win. No, they're gonna win. They're gonna win some football games this year, no doubt about that.
Yeah. That North tough, man. That North tough.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm dealing with the South. I got St. Aug, Livingstone, and Shaw. So I'm gonna try to get me some South wins and then get myself ready to go up to homecoming.
Yeah, there you go. So last thought, St. Aug's. What concerns you have about the Falcons?
Oh, they struggling right now. You got a struggling team, and they get a chance to play a home game, so to speak. But they moved the game to Southeast Valley High School. But when you got a team, the new coach, he's trying to put his stamp on everything. So you don't know when it's going to click. And I just don't want it to click against us, But they scored 7 points all year, and they're struggling to get it going. But I know Coach Fagan's going to get it going. So it's incumbent upon us to take this game very seriously, go down on a business trip, and just do what we do, handle our business, play to the standard that we're creating for ourselves. I think if we do those things, we should come away with a win. But if we mess around and look at the records, and look at the scores and think it's going to be sweet, then we're going to be down there for a dogfight.
Dr. Henry Frazier, the head coach of Virginia State, joining us here on the program. The Trojans are 2-0 on the season, again on the road Saturday in Raleigh against St. Aug's. Coach Frazier, listen, man, I appreciate the time, appreciate the conversation we have many, many times. Your candor, you're extremely candid. Continued success to you and the Trojans.
And I sure appreciate it. We're excited about this year. I think we got a chance to have a good season, something special. So we're just going to keep working, man. We're going to just keep working and going to class, hitting the workouts on a Tuesday and Thursdays and Sundays. Those are our workout days, hit the practice field. So we just keep doing the structure. The framework is in place. If they stay with the system, we're going to have a chance to be pretty good. I think we'll be a tough out down the stretch.
Absolutely. No doubt, man. Continued success.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. You can also listen to the podcast at boxtorow.com, iHeartMedia, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to get your HBCU football fix on Box to Row with Donal Ware each weekend on the radio station near you, and on SiriusXM on HBCU, Channel 142, and on ESPNU Radio on SiriusXM, Channel 84. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Box to Row for the latest in HBCU football, and don't forget to tell a friend.